So using the OpenFing library, now order service microservice is communicating with the customer service microservice, and then we are able to display the customer details in the response payload. But there is one thing we would still need to improve. That is, right now when we communicate to the customer service, we use the hard-coded URL for the customer service. In our API client, we have used this hard-coded URL to communicate to the customer service. But the ideal way should be we should not hard code any URLs in our microservice projects. Instead, there should be a separate service registry running, which should resolve any requests that we are sending to other microservices. To do that, we can add another project called Service Registry, and we can configure the microservices as clients in that project, so that whenever any microservice want to communicate with another microservice, this service registry will be able to resolve the URLs for the other microservices. So in our code, we don't have to hard code the URLs for other microservices anymore. So to do that, let's create another Spring Boot project by going to the Spring Initializer, and I'm selecting Maven, Java, and the Spring Boot version 3.5.3, and I will give the artifact as service-registry, and I will give the description as service registry, and packaging is Java version is 17. So we don't need these dependencies in this service registry project. Instead, we need another dependency called Eureka Server. This is this one. So Eureka Server, Spring Cloud Discovery, Spring Cloud Netflix Eureka Server. So that's the one we want in our project as a dependency. And it has been added. Now I will go ahead and generate this project. I just downloaded the zip version of the project. I'm going to extract in the same parent folder as the other two microservices. Now it was extracted in the same parent folder, and I don't need this zip folder anymore. So I'm going to delete that. And let's go to the IntelliJ. And now it shows this service-registry in our IntelliJ. although it shows in our IntelliJ, we still have to add this service registry as a module to our order underscore manager microservices project. To do that, we can select this order underscore manager underscore microservices, and then we can go to file, and in the file we can go to project structure, and in the project structure we can click this modules, and then we can click this add button, and then we can click this import module, and this import module we can locate the service registry and click OK. And we can click this import module from external module, click Maven and click create. Then apply OK. So now the service registry has been added as a module in our parent project. If we go to the service registry, now we see this dependency we added: Spring Cloud Starter, Netflix, Eureka Server. So the next step is to make this project a Eureka server. We have to add a certain annotation in our service registry application class, which already have this at Spring Boot application annotation, and below that I'm going to add at enable Eureka server annotation. To make this a Eureka server. So by default, it is also a Eureka client. We need to disable that. To disable that, we have to add some properties in our application.properties file. We already have the spring.application.name as service registry, and we can go to the next line and we can give the port. Let's give the port as 8761. And to disable it as a Eureka client, which is already by default enabled, I'm going to give this property: eureka.client.register with Eureka, and I can set it to false. And also there is one more property, that is eureka.client.fetch-registry. That's also need to set to false. And after that, let's run this. So it started, and it shows the URL as this: http://localhost:8761/Eureka. So let's copy this and let me open this URL to access the user interface for the Eureka server. We are getting this white label error. Let's delete that /Eureka and let's go just to localhost:8761, and then we can see the interface has loaded. And in this interface, under instances currently registered with Eureka, we see the application section and it doesn't have any instances because we have not yet registered any clients with this Eureka server. The next step is we have to register our microservices, the other two microservices, as Eureka clients with this Eureka server. To do this, let's go to the other microservices and we have to add some dependencies in the other microservices. First, I'm going to the customer service microservice, and in the customer service microservice, let's go to the pom.xml file. In the pom.xml file, I'm going to add this dependency. The group ID is org.springframework.cloud, and artifact ID should be spring-cloud-starter-Eureka-client. In the service registry project, we added the spring-cloud-starter-Netflix-Eureka-server, but in the clients, we need to add this spring cloud starter Netflix Eureka client. And in the properties section also, we have to add one more property. In our Eureka server, we have the property Java. Under the Java version, we have this property Spring Cloud version 2025 0.0, and I'm going to copy that property and let me add that into the pom.xml of the customer service microservice. And in addition to that, we have to add the dependency management section. So in this service registry, let's copy that and let's add that to the pom.xml of customer service microservice. We need to add it under the dependencies, just below the dependencies. And after that, let me click this load Maven changes. The dependencies has now resolved. And next thing we need to do is add the Eureka Server URL in our customer service microservice. So once we add that, it can register in the Eureka server. And let's go to the uh, application.properties file of our customer service microservice. And we already have application name, spring.application.name is, we have it as customer-service. Let's do one thing. Let's make it all caps. And I can do the same thing for the service registry also. I gave the application name as lowercase, and I'm going to follow the same standard in all applications. Let me give the name as all caps for that one as well. And for now, let's stop the service registry application. And okay, we have now added the customers-service as the application name for the customer service microservice. And then next step is we have to configure the Eureka server URL in our application.properties file. So we can configure it using this property Eureka dot instant dot client dot server URL dot default zone, and we can give the URL for the Eureka server. So let's give it just localhost colon 8761 first without this Eureka, and let's see it is able to register in the Eureka server. But actually, because it shows here replica node URL as localhost colon 8761 slash Eureka, we need to give that. But when we are accessing the Eureka server, we just have to access it with localhost colon 8761. But when we are registering it, we need to give that slash Eureka because it's showing here as well, like this. Then next step is we can run this customer service microservice and we can see whether it is able to register in the service registry. Before running the customer service microservice, let's run the Eureka server service registry project first. Service registry project has started on port 8761. Now I'm going to run the customer service microservice. So in the logs, it says customer service application started, and we can see discovery client underscore customer service registration status 204. And let's go to the Eureka server and let's refresh. And now we can see customer service is listed under the application section, and it says the status as up. The next step is to configure the order service microservice as a Eureka client. So to do that, we have to add the Eureka client dependency into the pom.xml of order service microservice. So let me go to the pom.xml, and I'm going to copy the dependency from the pom.xml file of the customer service microservice. So we need to copy this Spring Cloud Starter Netflix Eureka client dependency, and I'm going to paste it in the pom.xml of the order service microservice. And in the customer service microservice, we have added a property called spring-cloud.version, and also we have added this dependency management section. In this case, in the order service microservice, we don't need to add that property because we have already added that property earlier when we were configuring the OpenFain dependency, and also we have added this dependency management section at that point. So we don't need to add those anymore into our order service pom.xml file. So the next step is I will click the load Maven changes. Okay, the dependencies has now resolved. Now I need to go to the application.properties file of the order service microservice, and the spring.application.name is already there. I will make it like all caps, just like we did for the customer service microservice. And then we have to add the Eureka server URL. So I will copy that from the application.properties file of the customer service microservice. All the configuration is now complete. Let's start the order service microservice, and let's see it is able to register as a Eureka client with our Eureka server. order service project has started, and we can see that it was able to register with the Eureka server. And let's go to the Eureka server to confirm that. Let me refresh the Eureka server interface. Now we can see in the application, under the application section, we can see order service is also there with the status of up.